All right, you bunch of yahoos, strap yourselves in for another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity.
In other words, shut up, sit up, and pay attention. Tom,
Just to
question
have
for you.
that
Like at these concerts, is that front barricade, is that all like, bolted down into the ground? I mean, it's so many people are pressing up against against it.
It's they call it Mojo or the barricade, and so your stage is here. Then you have about a 10-foot lane to 15 for all the security and cameramen and all that. Then you build the barricade in that you're holding literally 40 to 80,000 people against it. So if you're smart, you'll do a T barricade all the way back. The countries that have money will kind of separate it like in cubes. So there's not a lot of pressure. But when you do festivals in Europe, you'll see 90,000 people on a hill. And it's claustrophobic. And if something goes down, I mean, there's been deaths, in festivals. In Sweden with Pearl Jam, I think it was Sweden or Stockholm, 6 people were killed in the 90s or late 90s. So it happens. And it's tough to watch because when you're not controlling it and you're a guest, for example, when you're doing a festival, there'll be 15 massive bands like Pearl Jam and Metallica. It's not yours. So you're not setting it up, Dan. You're kind of as a guest saying, thank you for having us. And then you try to lock down your area by the stage. You protect your band, you get them off the staircases, you get them into the car, get to the airport. But your shows, you own everything. So you've prepared everything. So if something goes down, it's our fault. But festivals, there's a really good HBO special that just came out about Woodstock 99 and what a clusterfuck that was and how terrible it was. And it was 200,000 kids that didn't pee or drink or do anything. And they're just pissing in everywhere on top of each other. They're in mud, they're in their own shit. It's crazy. It is, which is not what we do a lot, but I mean, when you see it, it leaves an impression for sure.
So one of the things that I can relate to some of the stuff you're talking about, because when concerts were coming to college at Arizona State, I went to college at Arizona State. When the various concerts were being brought to Arizona State University, they would bring in a lot of the big football players, but then they would also recruit the top couple weight classes for amateur wrestlers. Well, I was one of the top weight classes, so I was always being recruited for these various concerts. And I mean, I got a chance to see a lot of cool concerts. But why I go back to that barricade, it's really shocked me as to how these things are mounted right into the ground, and they've got all these wedges and you're seeing it flex. It's actually flexing, but then 100%. People are being crushed up against the wall. They're passing out. They can't even fall down. And now you got security guards that are actually reaching over, grabbing them, pulling them over the barricade. They're bringing them over to the first aid type of place. They're getting administered. Some of them, it's legit what happened to them. Other people, they're faking it. So they all want to try to get over the barricade so that they can meet the band. But then they don't realize once you're okay, they toss you out the back door and that's it. You're gone.
Yeah. So, and then, you see a lot of the people that learn how to kind of fake and do things. I have guys that are literally playing at USC. I ran Coachella for 7 years. It's a massive festival in California, and it's one of the biggest in the world. And for 7 years, I would fly in just to do 2 weekends. And I was lucky enough to work with these guys. You would love these big freaking Samoan guys from Orange County. Fucking love them. They're like silent warriors. But dude, I had 35 guys. 4 were over 400 pounds. 4. And I had like 17 were in the 300s, and the babies were 260 and 280. The young ones, the cousins.
The babies.
They hadn't reached maturity yet. Yeah.
And they were so good. But I would do tiers, so I'd put the linebackers behind, because when they're walking, people try to fake you and try to get on stage. So we had seen it all. But I had this one 6'7" Samoan that was probably 340, and he had braids down his hair. And I put him in the middle of the barricade, and I told him, every celebrity, which is it's a celebrity-driven thing at Coachella. It's pretty bad. But I told him, fist pump every celebrity you see. So he's got David Hasselhoff and Danny DeVito, and he's going up. Every celebrity, I'd have him fist pump just to just to tell them, relax, we got you covered. And so when they're leaving, they would run out of their way to find the guy, the big tall guy with the braids, to fist pump him, just to let him know that we took care of him. Because the main stage at Coachella is 125,000 people. It just goes on forever. It just goes on forever. And all the celebrities, of course, are put right in the front. So we got to take care of them, while kids, like you were saying, Dan, kids are coming over. It's called a waterfall when all these kids are coming over the barricade at the same time. Yep. And Coachella is really amazing with paramedics, because they don't judge. You got to remember, a lot of these kids, for whatever, they're doing their X and all that stuff, and it's 118 and they're falling like flies. I had to pick up a paramedic once and put him on my shoulder while he was working on someone. He just tipped over on the girl, fainted, because their work's so hard. And there's a tent next to the stage that had over 200 paramedics. That's how much is going on full time. Not many fights. It's Coachella. I've done festivals that Canada, for whatever reason, I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with it. They get drunk. They all think they're hockey players and they try to fight. So I don't know why, but when I'm with Metallica, I've only had 3 major injuries with Metallica, and it was always in Canada. Some guy jumping on stage, trying to do something stupid. And I literally broke my shoulder and tricep on a guy and just threw him off the stage. I have to tell this story. So he gets on, I tackle him. We don't promote that or, condone that at all. But at some point, you got to protect your band. So I take him down pretty hard. And what happens is all the security around know they fucked up. So they overreact and they jump on him. And you guys have had dead arm before, right? Where your arm's dead. There's nothing there. So I'm wearing a headset. So when I hit him, my headset's like over to the side now, and I have a dead arm. So we're walking out. It happened to be the end of the show. So we're walking down and going towards the dressing room. And the first time in my 20 years, this big girl jumps out from like 10 rows up and lands right in front of me. And again, my thing's over here. Yeah. She's my wife now. Thanks for asking. No. So I pushed her to the side, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here in Canada? It was Winnipeg, right? So we go and we put the guys in the dressing room, and the paramedics come and they look at my shoulder, and the one guy literally almost throws up in his face. He goes, you got to go to the hospital now. And I go, okay. So I go into the band and I go, hey guys, I got to go to the hospital. And they look at my shoulder. It's all fucked up. My triceps this big. And the singer looks at me and goes, that fat chick did that to you? So I ended up going to the hospital. Luckily, we're in Canada, so the insurance was no issue. But I got to tell you what happened. So I get there, 3 hours waiting. Singer comes to get me. We're standing there, and the doctor looks at me and goes, wow, that's the second person that's been here from the show. I go, oh, really? Who's the other one? He goes, he looks like a hockey player. He had a broken sternum, separated shoulder, lower back injury. I go, really? Is he still here? It was the motherfucker I tackled.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm like, so is he still here? Can I maybe say hello? And he goes, yeah, he's still. And he realized what he said. He goes, no. He left a long time ago. I don't even know why I'm talking to you. I don't even know if I'm a doctor. And he just walks out of the room, got out of there as quick as he could.
Oh, that's funny.
I wanted to ask you guys, if it's okay to ask you a question. You guys,
no question.
No, it's a talk show, no question.
Is it?
With you guys are well aware of stolen valor, obviously, and all that stuff. So the military is stolen valor, people pretending to be the military. But what I've noticed in my going to bars and UFC, there's a lot of people that pretend to be fighters. How do you deal with that? Do you ever hear about this and just want to bitch slap the guy? What do you do? Because I couldn't imagine being in your position and someone talking about, I actually knew people that did what I did for a living that pretended to be UFC fighters. It didn't go well at all, but I was curious how you guys deal with that.
Go ahead there, Mr. Frye.
I keep talking to him. I talk him up and I see how big it gets, how big the story gets, it's just fucking great.
At some point, do they cop, or are they just too many drinks in and they're
no, they keep going. They're good, they're the hero of the UFC, and the only reason they're not the champ is because politics,
Well, Tom, I'll say that on any given, say, a Friday or Saturday, you've got more guys and gals that will show up wearing UFC hats, UFC t-shirts. Most of them can't even spell UFC, let alone MMA. And but they have just enough alcohol that they're pushing certain limits. I mean, I kind of learned over time that I do my appearances a little bit earlier, not as late in the evening, so that now they don't have too much of that liquid courage into them.
Yeah.
And because they'll start coming up like, "Oh, I thought you'd be bigger. You don't look so tough." I mean, then they see your signature like, "Boy, you kind of write like a girl." I go, "What does that mean?" Because it's legible or something like that. You can actually read the signature or something like that. So I mean, it's it's just a wacky world. Just like Don said, you let them talk, let them make them feel like they're the king or whatever. But it's kind of like going, just you learn from it. That's all you learn. And then like the next time you just back it a little bit earlier, so you don't have to worry about that.
I struggle with the fact I was working on tour with someone who was there before me at the band. So I showed up, and I won't get into it because he'll figure out who he is, but it was rough because I knew none of it was true. And I also am not a snitch or a rat. And I'm like, he's here before me. But everything he said, you're like, so one day he spoke Portuguese. So he said he was part of the Gracie family. He's, every story. It was crazy. And then one day we were training, and I went to the gym about 15 minutes after him, and he was hitting a heavy bag. And I was like, I thought he was, I thought he saw me. So he was joking how bad he was. So at that point, honestly, I felt
like this.
bad. Oh yeah. And this is the guy who has to have my back if anything goes down. So it's a huge concern that, that's the guy who's got your back.
Yeah. Yeah. Now you want to be a football coach. So what sports did you play when you were growing up?
I played them all when I was young, and we were a divorced family, so we were super poor after my parents divorced. So we lived in the trailer park in Michigan, and I just never came home, and I just played every sport. And we haven't discussed this, but I don't know if this is the format, but I'm also an artist. So I became an artist that I was doing. Eventually, in my 20s, I was doing pieces for Michael Jordan and Shaqille O'Neal, the cover of Sports Illustrated and all that. And the point of that.
What area of art though? I mean, a painter.
I was doing it's photorealistic. So it's colored pencils against a colored paper, but it looks like a photo. And I'm not just saying that. It's just the style is photorealistic. Yeah. And they kind of found me, and ESPN put me on a show, and then I became a regular on that show. So I quit bodyguarding for 3 years, and I ended up doing a ton of artwork. And what made me good is I'm not super creative, unfortunately. The rest of my family is, but I can see, like, if I were to do it, Dan, your face is showing up right now. I can see literally 30 colors in your face, and I see a lot of things people don't. And that was the same way with coaching. I wasn't the greatest athlete, but I could repeat it as good as the coach could. So at a young age, I became a young coach in the Valley, and we were going for the state championships. We were doing really well. And I thought I was going to be the youngest head coach at that time. And then I got offered a bodyguarding job, which I made a little bit money, but I still have a passion for football, for all the sports. And then I trained, not going to pretend in any way like you guys do, but I got into Muay Thai a little bit. And so I would train at the Jet Center in the Valley for a little. And then when I get on the road, I would try to find someone that I could just hit the bag with, more just obviously for work. But I always had the passion that the fighters have and the athletes have. And so I'm 61 right now. And I trained since I was 16, 5 days a week for 35 years. So Ken knows I'm at the gym every day. I'm not gifted, genetically gifted like Ken is, but I keep fit, I keep strong. And I think you're doing it for the client. I think you have no excuse when you're being paid a lot of money to show up soft or not trained or not at your best. I just think it's fair for them. And they see. Tony's showing
me some of your drawings, and basketball players and rock stars. I don't see any fighters. What the hell's wrong with your problem, man?
I have wait before. Is Muhammad Ali a fighter? Because I did about 10 of Muhammad Ali.
I haven't seen him.
Yeah, and Jersey Joe Walcott I did. But it's weird now. I don't have.
They're not fighters. They're boxers.
Boxers, exactly.
Big
Hey, dude, if you're volunteering the photos, I'll get some done for both of you guys right now. Trust me. I'm actually working on something for Clay right now, but he's not supposed to know that.
I won't tell him.
But there's a lot of fighters I'd love to do, definitely. Right now, not a ton of time to draw. When you get home from a tour, you just want to do the normal shit. Get to the gym, find a pub, have some whiskey, watch some fights. Get on the motorcycle, put autopilot, and have it get you back to the house. And that's about it for me.
Thank you for watching another episode of Dan and Don's Toxic Masculinity. You better like, subscribe, and share, or I'm going to come to your house.